Day 5 of Drawing Doctor Who. The Fifth Doctor is an incarnation of the Doctor, the protagonist of the BBC science fiction television series Doctor Who. He is portrayed by PeterDavison. Within the series narrative, the Doctor is a centuries-old alien Time Lord from the planet Gallifrey who travels in time and space in the TARDIS, frequently with companions. At the end of life, the Doctor regenerates. As a result, the physical appearance and personality of the Doctor changes. Davison portrays the Fifth Doctor as having a vulnerable side and a tendency towards indecisiveness, dressed as a boyish Edwardian cricketer. He traveled with a host of companions, including boy genius Adric, Matthew Waterhouse, alien aristocrat Nyssa, Sarah Sutton, and Australian flight attendant Tegan Javanka, Janet Fielding, whom he had traveled alongside in his previous incarnation. He also shared later adventures alongside devious schoolboy Whistler Tullow, Mark Strickson, and American college student Perry Brown, Nicola Bryant. After Tom Baker, the Fourth Doctor, and the BBC had announced that he was leaving the role, the show's producers decided that the next Doctor was to be played by someone who presented something of a physical contrast to Baker and by an actor who was already firmly established in the British public's mind. PeterDavison was chosen due to his critically acclaimed role as Tristan Farnan in the BBC series All Creatures Great and Small, which had Doctor Who producer John Nathan Turner as line producer. The Fifth Doctor's era was notable for a back-to-the-basics attitude, in which silly humor, and, to an extent, horror, was kept to a minimum, and more scientific accuracy was encouraged by the producer, John Nathan Turner. It was, at times, a darker and grittier series, in part foreseeing the death of one of his companions, Adric. It was also notable for the reintroduction of many of the Time Lord's enemies, such as the Master, Cybermen, Omega, the Black and White Guardians, and the Silurians. The Fourth Doctor was seriously injured after falling off the Pharos Project radio telescope, so he merged with a future incarnation of himself called the Watcher and regenerated into his new youthful fifth incarnation. The regeneration was difficult, and nearly failed, with the Doctor briefly taking on personality aspects from his four previous incarnations. After recovering in the fictional city Castrovalva, actually an elaborate trap created by his archenemy the Master, he continued his travels with Adric, Tegan Javanka and Nyssa. Initially his travel centered on getting Tegan back to Heathrow Airport in time for her first day as an air hostess, but the TARDIS repeatedly missed this destination and Tegan eventually decided to stay in the TARDIS. After trips to the future and the past encountering villains such as Monarch and the Mara, the Fifth Doctor was confronted with tragedy when Adric died trying to stop a space freighter from crashing into prehistoric Earth, Earthshock. Following Adric's death, the TARDIS accidentally arrived at Heathrow Airport, time flight. Here the Doctor and Nyssa left Tegan assuming she would want to stay, when in fact she did not anymore. The Doctor and Nyssa then traveled together for an unspecified amount of time before the renegade Time Lord Omega, attempting to return to our universe, temporally bonded himself to the Doctor, Arc of Infinity. Faced with this threat, the Time Lords were forced to attempt executing the Doctor, but he eventually tracked Omega to Amsterdam where he defeated him and re-encountered Tegan, who having now lost her job, had no second thoughts about rejoining the TARDIS crew. When the Doctor met a new companion, an alien boy stranded on Earth by the name of Whistler Tullow, he did not know that Tullow had been commissioned by the Black Guardian to kill him. Soon after, Nyssa left to help cure Lazar's disease on the space station terminus. After meeting the entities known as Eternals racing in yacht-like spacecraft for the prize of enlightenment, Tullow broke free from the Black Guardian's influence, and continued to travel with the Doctor and Tegan. Landing in the reign of King John, the King's demons, the crew again encountered the Master, who was using a shape-shifting robot Chameleon to impersonate the King. However, the Doctor helped Chameleon to regain his free will and the robot joined him in his travels, although he rarely left the TARDIS. The Doctor met 3 of his previous incarnations when they were summoned to the death zone on Gallifrey by President Barussa, who was attempting to gain Rassilon's secret of immortality. After further adventures in which the Doctor re-encountered old foes, including the Silurians and the Sea Devils, warriors of the deep, both Tegan and Tullo left the TARDIS. Tegan would find the death and violence they encountered on their travels too much to bear, resurrection of the Daleks, and Tullo returned to his home planet of Trion in the company of his younger brother, as well as other exiles of Trion, from the planet Sarn. The Doctor was eventually forced to destroy Kamelion, when the Master used his mental connection to the robot to regain control of him, a process the robot realized was irreversible, Planet of Fire. Ultimately, the caves of Androzani, the 5th Doctor and his last companion Peri Brown were exposed to the drug Spectrox in its deadly toxic raw form on Androzani Minor. With only 1 dose of the antidote available, he nobly sacrificed his own existence to save Peri, expressing doubt for the first time that regeneration might be possible this time, then regenerating into the 6th Doctor. A sketch of the 5th Doctor is seen in John Smith's book in the new series episode, Human Nature, 2007. Visions of the 5th Doctor, alongside other past Doctors, appear in The Next Doctor, 2008, and The 11th Hour, 2010. Somewhere in his life he crashed his TARDIS into the TARDIS of the 10th Doctor and consequently nearly opened a Belgium-sized black hole because of the paradox caused, which the 10th Doctor also uses to explain the notably aged appearance of his former self. However, the 10th Doctor, remembering the event, knew how to stop it because he recalled watching himself correct the mistake when he was the 5th Doctor. Time crash. When entering the Doctor's time stream in The Name of the Doctor, Clara Oswald saves the 5th Doctor, who doesn't notice her, from the Great Intelligence, having entered his time stream prior to her. At another unknown point in his life, the 5th Doctor piloted his TARDIS along with the rest of his first 13 incarnations to freeze Gallifrey in a single moment in time and save it from the extinction-level aftermath of the Time War, the Day of the Doctor. An image of an aged 5th Doctor appeared in a transitional quasi-afterlife to the 13th Doctor, as well as being mimicked in an AI hologram programmed by the Doctor herself in The Power of the Doctor, 2022. The 5th Doctor's chosen mode of dress was a variation of an Edwardian cricketer's kit, and he was even seen to carry a cricket ball in one of his pockets, which saved his life in one adventure. He wore a cream-colored frock coat, striped trousers, plimsoll shoes, and occasionally a pair of spectacles. He frequently wore an Optimo-style Panama hat that had a red band with a black and white pattern, which he would roll up and place in an inside coat pocket. The 10th Doctor, who inherited various traits from this incarnation such as spectacle use, revealed in Time Crash that the spectacles were not actually needed to aid the Doctor's eyesight but were just for show to make him look clever, perhaps to counter his youthful appearance, although in 4 to Doomsday, he makes a remark about being a bit short-sighted in one eye when questioned about the contents of his pockets, which included the aforementioned cricket ball, a book, the TARDIS manual, and a magnifying glass. The 5th Doctor's costume also retained red question marks embroidered onto the collar, which producer John Nathan Turner added to the 4th Doctor's costume in 1980. The 5th Doctor displayed an unusually acute sense of taste in Planet of Fire, also inherited by the 10th Doctor, 11th Doctor and the 13th Doctor. On his left lapel, this Doctor wore a celery stalk. He claimed in the caves of Androzani that the celery would turn purple in the presence of certain gases in the Popraxis range to which he was allergic, although this allergy was not mentioned by any incarnations before or since. He said that if that happened, he would then eat the celery, adding, "If nothing else, I'm sure it's good for my teeth." In the same story, while attempting to revive a feverish Peri from Spectrox toxemia, he had noted that celery was an excellent restorative from where I come from, but that the human olfactory system was comparatively feeble. Supporting this assertion, in the 2010 episode, Cold Blood, the 11th Doctor asks if there is any celery handy after being subjected to a decontamination process intended for humans, which proved potentially lethal to a Time Lord biology. The 10th Doctor poked fun at the celery in Time Crash, describing it as a decorative vegetable. PeterDavison stated in an interview on the DVD of Castrovalva that he thought the clothes he wore were far too designed, and that he would have still kept them, but wanted to add some individual flair to them, as other actors portraying the Doctor have done in the past. In an interview with BBC Breakfast in July 2011, Davison stated that the cricket jumper was his idea, as the producers wanted something that conveyed both action and eccentricity. During production of the mini-episode Time Crash, it was necessary to reassemble the 5th Doctor's costume. This was accomplished through borrowing various items from the Doctor Who exhibition in Blackpool, knitting a new cricket sweater, procuring a new hat with the original band added, and Davison wearing the trousers that were originally altered for Colin Baker in the final scene of the Caves of Androzani. The 5th Doctor was first seen on television in the last episode of Logopolis, broadcast on March 21, 1981. Davison played the role through the 19th and 20th seasons of Doctor Who, including the 20th anniversary special The 5 Doctors. Patrick Troughton, who had played the 2nd Doctor, reportedly advised Davison to move on from the role after 3 years to avoid becoming typecast, and acting on this advice Davison informed producer John Nathan Turner that he would leave after the 21st season. In a break from recent tradition, Nathan Turner decided to regenerate the Doctor in the season's penultimate story, to introduce the 6th Doctor to audiences before the seasonal break. Davison's last regular appearance as the 5th Doctor was in the last episode of The Caves of Androzani, broadcast on March 16, 1984. Davison returned to the role briefly in the 1993 charity special Dimensions in Time. Beginning in 1999, he recorded a series of Doctor Who radio dramas for Big Finish Productions. In 2007, Davison, at the age of 56, appeared alongside 10th Doctor David Tennant in a Doctor Who special for children in need, written by Stephen Moffat and titled Time Crash. Images of the 5th Doctor are shown, alongside other incarnations, in the episodes The Next Doctor, 2008, and The 11th Hour, 2010. He also appears in The Day of the Doctor, 2013, via archival clips. In 2022, Davison returned to play the 5th Doctor in the form of an AI hologram of the Doctor and as a fragmented part of the Doctor in The Power of the Doctor alongside other previous Doctors, although both appearances show an aged Doctor. The 5th Doctor has also appeared in officially licensed novels, short stories, and comics. Stay tuned for the next Doctor.